Hello, Coco. Hello. Coco. Coco, loco. Coco. Hello, little lady. Hello. Hello. Oh, look at those muddy paws. Look at them. Come on. Oh my. It is so wet here. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I'm in the woods again and I didn't plan on necessarily filming today, but on this walk I've been thinking about these things and I wanted to then share where I've ended up in my process of thinking. I wanted to participate this year in the Witchesblacklent. I did participate last year on my own, but I didn't do everything and I wasn't able to create any content either. So for those of you who don't know, the Witchesblacklent was started by Jasmine, Ambrosia and Trish at Beanbag Hagbag last year. So it's become a tradition. So during the past few weeks, I've seen Jasmine's videos, the live with Trish, as well as a video from Abby the Witch. So I wanted to join in and try and do as much as I could. I won't necessarily be making video content for every single aspect. This is a sort of preliminary discussion, I guess. So I'll just show you. Look at this. Coco, come back, honey. This isn't normally here. This is just the bath. So last year I worked with Lust. I was really glad that I did work with Lust, and I think I would like to work with Lust again in the future. And that is because I was unpacking a lot of religious trauma around lust and being a sexual person and ways in which I was treated within the church and by Christian communities. So that was something that was important for me because it's something that I've been unpacking over the years, you know, even since becoming a mother as well, like more and more. And as well as it comes into the womb healing that I've discussed in some of the other videos, not really in depth, but some of the womb healing that I've been working on related to other trauma as well. I'll just put a disclaimer here. I'm gonna just mention SA. So I was assaulted in my 20s when I worked in London. So that is something that has caused some trauma, obviously. And so working through Lust was really, really beneficial for me in that perspective, being able to just embrace it fully and really step into it even more and just revel in the absolute celebration of being a sacred sexual being. And I think that because a few years ago I was reading a lot about sex magic as well, that really, really helped. This year, whilst I do want to work with Lust again in the future, I have, I think, bigger fish to fry at the moment. So listening to other people talk, the first thing was like wrath. Yes, like Abby the Witch discussed. It is really important at the moment because I'm rising up and being vocal and doing everything I can do at this point in time for pushing for a ceasefire and stating what I believe, what is happening at the moment to innocent people is not okay. And it's educating myself on like the history of that, unpacking all that has been really key, and I'm still doing it. I'm not perfect, nobody is. I think it's very easy to talk about like bandwagons and all this stuff, but it's not about that. We're talking about every single day innocent children and babies and mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and all kinds of people are targeted, mercilessly massacred. It's not right. It is just against all human laws. I actually feel that I lost some of my faith in humanity over the last few weeks, witnessing how people are so callous to respond, think they're playing devil's advocate or whatever. So obviously I've been leaning into the content and the work of those who are being very vocal, and my mind is again like boggled at how many huge creators we have in this community, and I'm going to say it, and a lot of them aren't saying anything. YouTube, I've made reference to it, but really I've done more on Instagram, but I've done everything that I can on the ground as well, IRL. I'm in pain every day, and my heart is broken. I'm devastated. I'm crying every day, and I'm really struggling as well to keep my head above water with it, as I'm sure many people are. And I know that there are probably lots of people out there who are trying not to see it because of their mental health, and I do understand, and I've been there, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, there's still things you can do without seeing certain things, but you can still make a difference, and you need to use your voice. Even if you have the smallest platform, you need to use your voice, and you need to call for a ceasefire immediately. It is so important. Until last October, I had never seen actual footage of a child, and I have now, more than that as well. And I I lose my words, I feel useless. And so yes, like I said, leaning into the work of people like Juliet Diaz, people like Kellyanne Maddox. I know Kelly Bear is speaking out, Isha at Coven of Two, Anya Esma is speaking out, Tarot Adventures with Jules, and I know that there are other people speaking out as well, but there's not enough people, like within our community, there's not enough people at all speaking out. And I'm sorry if this comes across as like aggressive, but when I'm filming this now, I hope I can get it live, we have a very important date coming up next week in which it will be discussed in Parliament here in England. We need to make sure that we're putting as much pressure on them as we can. So please, even if you don't want to look at certain things, please just donate, sign the petitions, call for a ceasefire, write to your local MP, do as much as you physically can with whatever limitations you have, please. This is a crime against humanity in epic proportions that I've never seen or felt in my life, and I know this stuff has been going on, and I definitely feel that I am someone who has needed to educate myself more and more and more, and that is something I'm trying to do. You know, I don't claim to be some kind of perfect advocate or activist. I'm not. I can't handle life right now, seeing, hearing, knowing that this stuff is happening in the world. So heartbroken. And I know there are other tragedies. Yes, I do donate to other causes. I regularly donate to children's charities. We need to be fighting. So I would just say, please, I've just had enough. If you've got a platform, use it, please. Okay, probably lost quite a lot of people. But if you're still here, I guess me speaking about that, you know, I'm not screaming and shouting, but I have wrath. I have a huge amount of wrath in my body right now. And so wrath is something that, as a mother, sacred rage, as I was talking about, as I walked through this woodland not that long ago, you know, it's building and building and building. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger because I can't continue like this. I just can't. And it's like you keep doing the same things and no one's listening, no one's doing anything. So I have a huge amount of wrath as a mother and as a human being. I can't believe that people think this is okay, or that they can just turn a blind eye. They can just say, oh, isn't it terrible? And then just ignore. Wrath. I have a lot of wrath. And it is beneficial because there's a fire under my ass. Obviously, I'm going to do what I can anyway. But the reason I was thinking that I should choose something else, well, specifically sloth, was because I'm burnt out, as many of you already know, if you've watched my channel. I'm not burnt out with my practice. By the way, I'm burnt out in life because I'm exhausted. And I think I might have chronic fatigue syndrome. So I'm looking into that. It is very challenging with my daughter, as you will know if you saw my last woodland vlog. It is very hard. So I was thinking, do I need sloth? Because I really need to lean into being okay with not being productive. Taya Kennedy made an incredible video on sloth last year. I remember it so well because it was just spot on. It was brilliant. It is one of those sins that very, very much benefits the capitalist world we live in, because it encourages people to get out there and work and work and work and work and earn as much money as they can. And you can, and you should try to have it all. You should try to be a mother and work. And I mean, there's this pressure on everyone to just be working all the time. Well, that's very, very difficult when you have chronic, ongoing issues or bouts of acute healthcare problems or ongoing mental health struggles, which so many people do, and even more and more, obviously, increasingly. Made an offering and I'm crossing the space. So I thought maybe leaning into sloth would help me be okay with not being productive in terms of organising things in the house and like getting everything to be perfect how I like it, or, you know, doing as much of my creative content as I possibly can. Not just on here, but just for myself, you know, working in my book of shadows and creating art and things, as I've talked about, that I'm really leaning into this year for self-care, and also because I have always loved it, but it's always been one of those things that gets put on the shelf because there's not enough time. So I actually think that sloth could be so beneficial for meditation and for leaning into mindfulness and calm, and also for switching off from social media and all of these things. But then I have Lilith on my back though, and this fire in my belly, and I realise that I have something that other people don't, and that is the safety that I have, the home and the privilege. I have a lot of things that a lot of people don't have right now. Whatever happens, I'm still going to be able to sleep in my bed at night, and I'm not at threat of being murdered at any moment. I'm not having to escape danger, so I'm still going to be rested. And I can still keep a mindfulness around, you know, how much I'm pushing myself. I can still do that and have a fire under my ass and just go, you know what, I'm wrathful today. It's the goddess, like she's rising up so strong. Last few weeks I've been having some encounters that just are not what I expected. So when I was working with Mother Mary, another figure came through and called herself Lady Sheba. So I assumed Queen of Sheba, who I've never worked with before. I know very little about, only from a few resources really, connecting the dots back to some of my ancestry and considering some of the deities that may have been considered in those areas. And again, like I've said before, I don't think that in any way entitles me to working with or petitioning or anything with any particular deities. I just want to learn now. So, but she had a very strong message from me about my daughter and about gratitude. Every day, especially this past week, it's been half term, I had my kids. You know, one day they spilled cereal everywhere, like milk all over the floor, Weetabix, and they made such a mess they didn't tidy it up, and I think it was all a joke. They ran away laughing. They thought it was hilarious. I was cleaning it up and I suddenly realised how grateful I am that I am wiping up Weetabix and milk and I'm not, you know, covered in blood. I'm sorry if that is offensive, but this is where my head has been at, and the messages that I received from this figure who called herself Lady Sheba was, pull yourself together. You have a beautiful daughter. You need to mobilise now. The Morrigan has told me she was preparing me for this. Lilith is taking no prisoners, and Hekate has also come through when I was trying again to pray to Mother Mary. Now is the time that the dark goddesses are literally rising up, and they want a place at the table so that they can support you with the work. So if you feel the same, lean into it. And if you're participating in this challenge, maybe you also want to do wrath, like myself and like Abby has also expressed. I think there's gold there. And you know what else I think? I also think that wrath is not just screaming, shouting, raging. Obviously, if there's a fire under your ass, you're doing stuff, so you're actively an activist for this. It comes together with pride, which is another deadly sin I was considering, because I do feel that I was raised to be a nice girl. I was raised to always put other people before myself. You know, innocent, sweet, mild, demure, meek and mild, all of that stuff. Got your homework done on time. You were polite to everyone, even if they were horrid to you. You always treated them really well, and you let people. This is where I was like, okay, pride. I do need that, especially for like setting more boundaries in my life, because people will continue to be toxic. And, you know, at a certain point, I think it's nice because it stops affecting you so much, because you know you're not the problem, especially when you're dealing with your own shadows. You know it's not you, it's them. And so even if they don't say sorry or if they don't recognise it, you can still move forward in a sense. You know, I think it's probably case by case, and this stuff is hard, right, when people treat us like shit. But the point is, pride I thought might be an important one. But then I was like, no, this is just for another time, for another day. Do you know what I mean? I have a fire under my ass, courtesy of all the dark goddesses. And I realised that there's so much more to wrath than just being rageful. There is deep despair. There is anguish and pain. There's a sense of justice and morality and ethics come into question. But it's also, I was thinking about the images of those mothers with their children and babies wrapped in sheets. That desperate grieving, that is part of the wrath. It's the goddess keening. That is part of it. I'm going to lean into this fire. I'm going to lean into the pain. I am going to continue doing everything I can in my power to make a change. I think what Kellyanne Maddox said in one of her older videos a few months ago was, I'm calling you in. So look, this is not personal. I just want people to say something so this stops. Okay, so I've reached the end of this conversation. I do hope that it landed. Please be respectful in the comments. If there are any disrespectful or hateful comments, they will be removed straight away. And I'm not going to entertain any kind of discourse around what is right and wrong about this. This is wrong. And it's a full stop there, because what we're talking about is a ceasefire to prevent the loss and to preserve innocent lives of babies and children. It's not conditional. It also is about preserving the human right for anyone to live and exist in peace and harmony, where they belong, where they live. I've had enough of it. So do something, please. It's not supposed to be perfect. Look at me. I'm in sweats, covered in mud, with my dog. I'm very angry. This is probably going to be the most real video I've ever posted. But I think I should have made this video a long time ago, so that I'm calling myself out. I should have made this video a long time ago. And I'm sorry I didn't. I am sorry I didn't. I'm calling you in now. So I'm going to be working with wrath. I empower you to do the same. I implore you to please follow some of the links below and do the right thing. It's as simple as that. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye. Do take care of yourselves at this time. Obviously do what you need to do to keep yourself safe, but don't turn a blind eye, because the silence, it's deafening. All right, so many blessings. Bye.